Today on 21st Century Television. Join us as we explore innovative technologies, cutting-edge solutions, and timely discussions from leaders across the globe. Featuring guest host Donald Trump Jr. This is 21st Century Television.
Welcome to 21st Century Television. I'm Donald Trump Jr. Regardless of size, businesses today need some type of recognition and loyalty program to survive. Here today to discuss how his company, Rymax Marketing Services, is helping organizations implement recognition and loyalty programs, we have VP of Sales, Paul Gordon. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks, Don.
Also joining us today is our industry expert, Mark Johnson, CEO of Loyalty 360. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
What are some of the benefits that companies can receive today by recognizing and rewarding their employees?
One of the big ideas in the workforce today is the idea of B to E to C, business to employee to consumers. There's a belief that having an engaged employee populace can have significantly beneficial financial results. And we see that organizations that have an engaged and loyal audience, both for the employee and the consumers, have measurably beneficial financial results. But the challenge is understanding the disparate needs of the employees and making sure you put in processes that can motivate them to peak performance.
Paul, how is Rymax Marketing Services helping these companies really create and implement these types of programs?
Well, there are a number of things. One is that I think that what we try to bring to the table is the expertise that we have in having an eclectic group of clients. So we're in multiple different disciplines, whether it's pharmaceutical, whether it's financial, whether it's travel, whatever the case may be. And then drilling down specifically into what is unique into what this client is looking for. It's a much different universe today for the loyalty program. You know, it's the 21st century and things have changed dramatically. So we want to bring a perspective all the time to what's going to work, be nimble enough to change things on the fly because things change very rapidly, and bring a perspective that the client may not see because they have somewhat of a myopic view based on their business, and we're able to broaden it out a little bit more.
Paul, what is the size, scope, and importance of the loyalty and rewards market today?
Well, the size continues to grow. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there are a number of reasons why. From the standpoint of consumer products, the ability to initiate trial or to increase repeat purchases, to establish a brand and have loyalty among that brand is really critical because the life cycle of brands gets shorter and shorter every day. In terms of the scope, sort of put into perspective almost what's in the average person's wallet. Most people are enrolled in about 14 loyalty programs, but in reality are only using about 4 or 5. So now if you start to think about, well, what would those 4 or 5 be? Well, you've got credit cards, American Express, MasterCard. Generally from a business traveler standpoint, you have a flight, an airline, United Airlines, for instance, whatever the case may be, probably a hotel, and now all those other programs are fighting for that last space that's there. So the importance of the programs becomes paramount in terms of differentiation and also in terms of the deliverables. And then on the other side of it, the employee part of it becomes really huge as well. We saw a tremendous opportunity to help organizations after the economic downturn in 2008. Good employees need to be recognized, and even greater employees needed to be recruited into the organization. So a loyalty program that really appealed to those segments became critical, and it really helped the business grow dramatically.
Interesting. Mark, how has the fragile economy really impacted loyalty reward programs with corporations?
Well, as we've spoken in the past, loyalty programs are more complex than ever before. We see a dramatic shift in organizations spending more for loyalty and retention efforts versus acquisition. You want to understand who your customers are, who your employees are, and put in process the programs that can really drive a behavioral shift. You want to understand behaviors that are advantageous to the individual, what they're looking for, but as the marketing complex has become more challenging, we also see it in the employee landscape as well. You have baby boomers, Gen Xers, Gen Ys, and millennials. Not everyone is working to live, some live to work. And the challenge is putting together those processes, those programs that can really drive that mutually beneficial behavior. And it takes a very data-centric approach to do that, and most organizations aren't equipped to do so.
With baby boomers exiting the workforce at a more and more rapid pace, what is that doing to these programs? What's that doing to the workplace?
Well, I think it's reinvigorating them. Organizations which saw it as maybe a necessary evil now realize that it's a tremendous recruiting tool. I think it's a great way for organizations to do peer-to-peer recognition. The next generation that's in there wants recognition on a more frequent basis. It's not necessarily in cash or in something that's tangible. It's everything from, hey, you're doing a good job, or you really helped the process along. And to be able to do that and then have your peers recognize that is important. We practice what we preach. We actually have that in our own company, and we talk about it with all of our clients and the Institute as well, where each business group, marketing, sales, operations, finance, whatever the case may be, at the start of the year has a budget. And with that budget, they're able to say, you did a great job for us. We appreciate that. And that goes a lot farther than, let's say, the top of the organization, doling out something to the individual.
Yeah, it's interesting. With the shift in demographics that you're seeing, do you also see a similar shift in the redemption and categories that people are interested in?
Earlier, I spoke about the economy, and what was fascinating was that in 2008, when the economy was very, very soft, we saw a shift to more practical redemption items, things that were going to be used for the home, because people now weren't really going to put their house in the market because the housing market imploded, or they weren't going out to eat as often, so now they wanted cookware. They wanted things that were more practical. As the economy starts to improve, you start to get more luxury-based items, and so that's more fashion that goes in there. The cycles that affect the consumer, the employee, in terms of what goes on in the real world, also impacts the business. I think Mark, can certainly tell you that travel took a major hit in most programs. Product has really stayed for quite some time because there's a residual value of that. There's a trophy value. There's things that make this thing really work, and it's also economically a very efficient model for an organization to offer to their employees.
What's going to be the driving force of this industry going forward?
I think the loyalty industry is going through a renaissance. We see companies shifting more of their marketing spend towards retention. We see less going into acquisition. Understanding your customers, being able to put together processes that can be measurable for the bottom line are very important. But organizations are struggling with the mental acumen that is really needed to drive these programs. So I think organizations that are spending more towards the retention efforts, spending more on their loyalty processes, and making a more data-driven approach to them, really understanding the customers and making sure the relationship you have is mutually beneficial are the ones that will succeed.
Paul, how does that ultimately impact Rymax's strategy going forward?
Well, I think that as a company, we made a very strategic move to be a branded product resource. And it was really the right move, because as things change, as the demographics change, the reality is that there's always going to be something that's desirable enough to motivate you to do something that's a little bit different. Our opportunities have grown substantially over the years because of employee programs, because of the economy, because of new business segments like the casino, because of what's going on in air travel, where quite frankly people want to use their points for products as opposed to the tickets. And so the growth factor is still there. The key to every program is making sure you're using the right resources in terms of communication, making sure that it is relevant to whoever the group is. And so we really see that the growth is substantial in the future.
Well, it sounds like Rymax really has an understanding of what they need to do for their clients as well as a blossoming industry. So thanks for joining us here today, Paul.
Good. Thank you.
Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. For 21st Century Television, I'm Donald Trump Jr.